Raina Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Could I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there?
Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain it what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it.
Let's open up that rave line! Woohoo! Oh, I can't believe USC is 7-5 again. Oh no!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rant Line Radio, episode 579, coming to you on Wednesday, December 4th. We're going to look at early signing day, talk about the loss of Matt Entz as USC's linebackers coach, and so much more. As always, you can follow us on Twitter, Rant Troy, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Rant Troy, email address, ranttroy@fansite.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227, Second Woods Burn Show. I'm your host, Mario Castillo, joined with my co-host here in the Rant Troy studio in Los Angeles, Alicia Dertol.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. It is early signing day, everyone's favorite day of all days, I think, right?
Well, it used to be.
Yeah. Well, no, this surely did not used to be. My biggest boomer take that exists is that signing day has been taken away from us with this
stupid
early thing.
It's not just that it's early. It's that it's the week. It's the week of championship game. Like Why? Why is it this week? I mean, I know that the calendar is funky this year, all that kind of stuff, but like, it just sucks. It sucks to have this random Wednesday be the signing day when signing day could be the talk of the town. And instead, like today, it's, transfer portal news is bigger than signing day news. College football playoff conjecture is bigger than signing day. Like, I don't know, it's just all stupid. Coaches are being hired and fired still this week. Like, it's unfair to everybody. It sucks.
Yes, I agree. But I admittedly haven't looked into it enough about why it's today and not like next week, because it had been the middle of December. But I wonder if it's as a means to not let the coaching carousel factor in as much. And I think that's going to lead us to a sort of the prime news of the day, right? If you're watching us on YouTube, I am like absolutely fumbling with this camera. I moved it. Now every time I move it again, it's wrong. This is wonderful TV. The people in the chat probably absolutely loving this. Anyways, pretend that I'm in the right spot. Big news today is that Matt Entz, USC's linebacker coach, is no more. He's headed up the 5 to the 99 and on his way to Fresno State to take over for Tim Skipper, who was the interim skipper over at Fresno State after Jeff Tedford had stepped away a couple of times and finally for good in terms of like health reasons and stuff like that. Obviously, we hope that Coach Tedford's doing good. Jeff Tedford, hell of a coach. Obviously, a lot of rivalry history with the Trojans a couple decades ago. But Fresno State's a good spot, and they went for another lower level head coach. Did it before with Kalen DeBoer. Here they are with Matt Entz. Matt Entz going to be the new head coach at Fresno State. 5-year deal is the word on the street for him, but that's par for the course of what goes on with college football. Your thoughts on this?
Matt Entz specifically took a demotion to become a linebackers coach at USC, specifically so that he could get a foothold in the division FBS. Division One, FBS, and his stated goal outright was he wanted to be a head coach. He was not being given opportunities as a champion FCS coach, so he came up specifically to get that opportunity, and lo and behold, that opportunity came. I think it was always going to be likely that Entz was only going to be at USC for 1 year because I sort of expected him, if nothing else, to get a defensive coordinator job somewhere. I think that would have been an obvious next step for him. The Fresno State gig landing in his lap feels like kismet. Jeff Tedford has his health issues. They end up with an interim. They need a new person to come in and lead their program, and right there in front of them is basically potential Kalen DeBoer Part 2. Because again, like you said, Kalen DeBoer was an FCS guy who had to come up and put in NAIA, yeah, even who had to come in and put in time as a coordinator, as a coach in the major college football, and Fresno State gave him that chance to become a head coach, and it worked out incredibly for him and for them. So why not try it again with Matt Entz? It just makes a ton of sense for them. It is unusual to see a position coach make that leap, but I think Fresno State was, like I said, it's kismet. It was I don't know that another opportunity was going to come around like this for him. I don't know that another head coaching opportunity was going to be in the works for him this year. So it's just, it's Fresno State was the right program for the right time for Matt Entz, and it's cool that he gets to live his dream. I'm surprised it happened this quickly for him, and I'm happy for him. As Michael, your mic is not on.
Yeah, you're right. Especially a Power 5 job like Fresno State.
Yeah. Pac-12, baby.
Yeah, this is a great spot for him. Fresno State's a good job. I think SC fans, probably more than most even, probably have a lot of respect for Fresno State, right? It's a great supported school. Big passionate fan base. They recruit well in California for the type of players that would help them. And it's an opportunity where I think that going into the new Pac-12, how could you not think that they could be a major player in that conference? Absolutely. So, good for Matt Entz. And
hey,
happy for him.
If Lincoln Riley's contract is going to be around for a few more years here, with a significant buyout that will prevent anything from happening. Mm-hmm. So, hey, maybe down the line, a couple of years, Matt Entz doing well at Fresno State.
He knows the fight song.
He knows I'm just saying.
Hey.
Just saying.
The interesting thing about this is there was a tweet from Eric Gentry. Y'all don't even understand the man changed my whole perspective about this. Shh, he says. A year ago, I truly believed football wasn't going to work out. That man came with the whole D staff and changed my whole perspective. That is, I think, a major endorsement of Matt Entz. Mm-hmm. Matt Entz today, after the news had already come out, replied or quote tweeted this. Working with Eric Gentry and the rest of the linebackers he's using past tense here, was exactly what I needed in my life. It's still about people and relationships. Does not matter what level of football. It's still about the people. Thank you. #headhunters. You are exactly what I needed. I think this is great. I know that there's a lot of, anytime someone leaves, people are mad that people leave. For two reasons. A, you're mad that somebody left and how dare they leave? I want you here kind of thing. And then people get mad because, they loved him and they don't want him to leave in that way, right? Watching the signing day press conference on USC Athletics, there was quite a few comments, upset about Entz leaving, how could he do this to us and all this stuff. I don't think that's the perspective to have here. Lincoln Riley commented about it in the press conference. Like, losing your assistants is a sign of a good staff. And we know that USC's defensive staff is good. We talked about it last year when they all got hired. They're all overqualified, with the exception of Danton Land. They were all overqualified for their positions. So, yeah, like, somebody was getting poached somewhere. Like, that's going to be inevitable. It's about repeating the process in hiring those guys and the type of guys that Lincoln Riley hired. Repeat that process and find another similar guy. But also, Matt Entz didn't have to respond to this tweet from Eric Gentry.
No.
Like he could have just ignored it. He could have not said anything. I think him, quote, it's a little thing. But, like, I think the optics are good when you respond to one of your players that you're leaving and you say something, because you hear all the time, oh, the guy's left and he didn't even tell me and all that stuff. You don't get that vibe here at all. This sounds like Eric Gentry, thumping his chest for Matt Entz, and Matt Entz, patting him back, and that's what we want to see. I think people like Matt Entz, players like Matt Entz. He's going to be a big loss. I think, you could potentially talk about the losses in recruiting today when we get into signing day stuff. When Lincoln Riley was asked about that because SC was pursuing a linebacker who ultimately signed with Notre Dame, Madden Faraimo, out of J. Sarah in San Juan Capistrano. He commits to and signs with Notre Dame. SC had been in the mix there. And Lincoln Riley is asked, not specifically about Faraimo, but like, could Entz's thing have changed things for recruiting? And Lincoln Riley didn't want to commit to that. Like, hard to say positively, negatively, like whatever, which is probably the right answer to give in that situation. But yeah, I think it could have affected things.
But that's not. It's not Matt Entz's fault that the stupid NCAA has put the most important signing day of the year on December 4th, 3 days after Bloody Monday, when everyone's firing their head coaches, and the conventional time when you would be hiring a head coach. Lincoln Riley got hired at USC days before December 4th. Of 2021. Yeah. So, it's not anybody's fault except for the stupid people in charge of all this crap that the timing was bad. The timing is always going to be bad so long as signing day is in early December. It's silly. They need to move to an early signing day in August or sometime before and do away with this, because it's bad for everybody involved.
Right. The other thing is, and I know that obviously from the SC perspective, you could have liked Faraimo to come in and all that stuff. And yes, you would have liked Entz to stay through signing day, get Faraimo, and then he's like locked in and all that kind of stuff. And maybe he stays because of that, even though he misses Matt Entz. So just speculating hypothetically here, right? But also, this is a world in which transfers happen all the time. Players have been given the right to transfer, and we've seen kids like try to get out of their LOIs. I know that this sucks for SC in this particular instance, but like, is it not probably for the best that like the Entz thing came out right before Faraimo could send in his LOI? Like, that would have sucked for the kid if he was like, if that was his ultimate, deciding factor,
Yeah. No, again, like there was never going to be good timing. It was always going to be bad timing no matter when it was going to happen.
Yeah. Let's get to other head coaching news. A story from The Athletic today, reported by three people: Bruce Feldman, Antonio Morales, and Ralph Russo. Hell of a triumvirate to put out a story, which I think puts a lot of credence into the reports. Lincoln Riley to UCF, Central Florida, Orlando. and not to go to Disney World. Apparently UCF is interested and like reached out, back channeled to Lincoln Riley about their head coaching position. They lost Gus Malzahn to be the offensive coordinator at Florida State. Quote, the first source added that UCF had not received any word from Riley's camp that he is interested in leaving USC, and the school is still looking at multiple candidates to fill its head coaching vacancy. Firing Riley, whose win total with the Trojans has decreased in each of the last 3 seasons, would cost USC about $90 million, according to one of the sources. If Riley were to leave for another school, he would owe USC nothing. But UCF is in position to replicate the deal. Is not in position to replicate the deal that USC had with Riley. Malzahn only made $4 million last year, or this past year at UCF. The whole thing is insane, which leads to some of the best Reddit comments on RCFB that I've seen. Quote, Kazakhstan invades Russia. How about kind of effed how programs that won a natty not too long ago think they can just pluck coaches from other programs willy-nilly. 2017 national champ UCF. Mm-hmm. Quote, I've made inquiries about Kate Upton. Fair. And of course, quote, coming back full circle to the Big 12 would be Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. I don't think there's any. I will give it to UCF. That is how programs at UCF's level should be operating. Yeah. They should be looking at the under fire head coaches out there who might see the writing on the wall and saying, hey, let's go see if we can sort of entice one of them away, right, and see what happens. I don't think that there was ever a chance that this was ever going to be a situation. Number one, because I think Riley taking the UCF job would be admitting defeat, and I do not see Riley being that kind of guy that just like he seems to me slightly stubborn, and I don't imagine him thinking like, yeah, let's pick up and move my wife and my kids and go to Florida. To admit that I can't make it in the big conferences, that I am scared of competition, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, but the Big 12 is not the Big 10 or the SEC.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. If you're UCF, you absolutely should kick the tires on literally everybody that you can. I could see a world in which Lincoln Riley leaves, absolutely, but not for UCF, and probably more likely for the NFL or something like that. But yeah. All right, let's get into signing day talk. Alicia, today, early signing day, SC gets 3 big new additions to the class, including the biggest one of them all, Jakeem Stewart, 5-star defensive lineman out of Edna Carr High School in New Orleans. Picked the Trojans over LSU, Arkansas, Alabama, Oregon. I think Ohio State was in the mix at one point. The 16th overall recruit in the 24/7 Sports Composite. The 3rd ranked defensive lineman in the class. But Jakeem Stewart is an interesting one because he's 17 years old. He's only played 12 games of varsity high school football, with the most recent being a year ago, when he played as a sophomore and had 20 sacks. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean? A sophomore a year ago? Yeah, because he's reclassified. At one point, ESPN had him as the number 1 overall recruit in the 2026 recruiting class. But he essentially took this season off from football, prepared as if it was like a combine situation, and reclassified all at the same time. There's a great story that ESPN has put together. Go read it about how this is like the multi-million-dollar gamble for Jakeem Stewart to go all in on this. But like the talent's there. 20 sacks last season at St. Augustine in Louisiana. Like he's a big-time talent for a reason, and he's a 5-star defensive lineman, which is exactly what SC would have wanted to get no matter what, right? Yeah,
USC needs defensive linemen, especially interior defensive linemen. to help out this this defensive front that is sorely lacking in high ceiling talent, and that's what Jakeem Stewart is. So, on that front, USC hits a home run here, pulling him out of Louisiana, pulling him out of not just LSU territory but SEC territory, beating Oregon for him, and that Oregon is a school that's not shy about throwing out a big NIL package if they are trying to get somebody. So USC showing a bit of between Stewart and Hassan Longstreet, USC showing a bit of willingness to sort of go big or go home on the recruiting trail, which is definitely a good sign. I do think some of this stuff is slightly red flaggy about Jakeem Stewart. I don't care for a player choosing to sit out football games because there's a lot more to playing football than just being able to ace all the combine challenges. There's sort of, I have a little bit of a question about like competitive spirit. If he's willing to not play games where winning and losing is at stake.
So the interesting thing about that is Lincoln Riley was asked about it, and he's like, he looked at it the other way of like, he wanted to do something and he put all of his energy into making it happen, which I think you can take that read of it too, right? Like it's both those things are there. At
17 years old, to have the the commitment to not just go all in on practice and all that kind of stuff, but to take care of what you need to take care of in order to reclassify and enroll early. All of those things are those are the green flags. Those are the signs that show he is willing to work hard on that front. I am really excited about adding him specifically because I think Jakeem Stewart plus Eric Henderson is probably going to answer any of the questions that I might have about all of that, the competitive spirit kind of stuff. Because Eric Henderson is a very good defensive line coach who demands, excellence and competition from players. We saw, the Bear Alexander of it all is, as much as it sucked to lose Bear Alexander, Eric Henderson's willingness to not start Bear Alexander despite the circumstances around Bear Alexander says a lot about the
values that he has.
Yes. Yeah. And so like he's not going to let anybody skate by or skirt by. So this is big
dog work.
Yeah, dog work. And if Jakeem Stewart's ready to go in and do that dog work, I think he could be a really, really good player for USC. He is the kind of recruit that USC needs to land. He is proof of concept a little bit for USC being bold in, recruiting in the South. And that didn't really work out with a few of the guys that USC went after. But this recruiting class is also, it is not lost on me that three of the top four players in this class for USC are guys in the trenches, and each one of those guys in the trenches comes from not California. So the quarterback comes from California, D lineman comes from New Orleans, offensive lineman Alex Payne and Aaron Dunn come from Gainesville, Georgia, and Spanish Fork, Utah. So, I think that when you look at it, USC should absolutely be recruiting California more aggressively and be winning some of these battles in California. But they aren't completely incapable of landing these out-of-state guys, and these out-of-state guys are theoretically going to be like, these are core, build around them kind of players that USC's brought in, and it really does start with Jakeem Stewart.
Yeah. I think that he's absolutely what you want in terms of the big defensive end kind of guy, maybe a tackle end, where positions on the defensive line change all the time, but like that's the guy that SC's been wanting, someone who can get after the quarterback, someone who can pass rush and stop the run and all those sort of things. You talk about Oregon has had no problem. They're on the West Coast, right? This is SC sort of doing their part there. And yeah, I think it helps make up for all the Georgia guys that they had committed in the front seven that they lost earlier on in the class, all those 5-star guys. I think it helps. Where I am hesitant is the PTSD of a 5-star lineman coming to USC,
Yes.
which is entirely unfair to Jakeem Stewart, and fully recognize that this is just PTSD talking, especially when all you would ever want, all you would ever dream of is for USC to get a 5-star defensive lineman, right? At the same time, your PTSD is but Corey Foreman, oh, but Wale Pateku, oh, but don't remember Kenny Bigelow, and all these guys who came much ballyhooed, 5-star dudes, came in SC and did nothing except for Corey Foreman and got DTR and won the victory bell because of it. But again, it's unfair to put that stink on Jakeem Stewart. It's mostly SC has wasted 5-star talent on the defensive line before. At least now you've got 2 good defensive line coaches in Henderson and Nua working together on these guys. I think that, it gives SC the best opportunity since Ed Orgeron to get the most out of a, high-level defensive line talent. And the last time that SC got the most out of a high-level defensive line talent was Leonard Williams with Ed Orgeron.
And look at the impact that Leonard Williams had on USC's defense. He was incredible, and that is the player that USC has been lacking on the defensive line for the most part going forward. I mean, Tuli Tuipulotu is probably the closest thing that USC has had to
3-star,
truly dominant defensive lineman, and even Tuli Tuipulotu was not that level of
right.
Tuli Tuipulotu is a great player, but he wasn't a one-man defensive line, which is...
Well, he was, but in a different way of what you're talking about. Yeah, I agree. But he didn't come with the hype that the other guys have come with. Marlon did. I think Marlon would have had much more hype than Tuli, and Tuli was significantly better than Marlon was. But either way, if Jakeem Stewart can be as productive as Tuli Pupu was... what am I?
You're thinking of Solomon Tuliupupu?
No, I'm not.
Tuli Tuipulotu.
I know. Tuipulotu. Why am I just getting names? I got too much on my screen. Too many things going on. All right, let's talk about the other guy that SC got. A flip, one of 2 flips. Alex Payne, offensive lineman out of Gainesville, Georgia. Not Gainesville, Florida, but Gainesville, Georgia, number 152 in the 24/7 Sport Composites, 4-star, was committed to UNC and flips to USC, but not that one, this one.
Yeah, this is another really big swing by USC to go after a guy who was committed to another school, and you get him to come as an offensive lineman. A highly rated offensive lineman is something USC has needed a hell of a lot more of in general. And to go back to 2 of USC's top 4 players in this class are now offensive tackles, and Alex Payne being one of them. This is what you love to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's 4-star DB safety, Alex Graham, from Cass Technical in Detroit, Michigan. Lincoln Riley pointed out he just won a state championship in Michigan. Flips from Colorado to the Trojans, the 357th overall recruit in the 24/7 Sports Composites. A guy that Colorado fans really wanted, and then he ultimately flips to SC at the on signing day.
Yeah, again, a guy that it's always great to beat out Colorado for somebody. Again, a program that will pull out all the stops to bring
what
them
a
in.
statement. Imagine saying that
I
like
know,
3 years
right?
ago.
I know. But, Colorado, like I said, Colorado pulls out all the stops. And, sometimes you'll lose those guys because of it. So, yeah, another big pull from out of state that USC is going to try and see if they can maximize.
Yeah. Let's talk about the commitments that SC had. The Trojans had 20 commits coming into the day. They got 19 of those guys, which ultimately 18 of those guys turns into 21 total signees of the guys who were previously committed. Everybody but Jaden Parlati from Beaufort, Georgia, committed. He's the guy who did not sign. Lincoln Riley was asked, "Is there going to be anybody else signing?" He's like, "Nope, not that I can think of. Don't think we're missing anybody." Which I think that speaks to the Parlati situation. But let's run through the class really quick. Of course, 5-star quarterback Hassan Longstreet of Corona Centennial. There's 4-star linebacker Matai Tagoaia from San Clemente. The number 157th composite 4-star offensive tackle Aaron Dunn from Spanish Fork, Utah. And I have an issue with Spanish Fork, Utah. You couldn't just name the town like Tenedor.
What?
Fork in Spanish is Tenedor.
Oh. Well, maybe they didn't want us to name it in Spanish. Maybe the people who were naming it were, English speakers who were discussing a fork in the road or a fork in the river or something. I don't know.
You're not supposed to just pee in my Cheerios. Okay?
That is my job, though.
The number 210 composite 4-star safety Kendarius Reddick out of Thomasville, Georgia. Number 222 overall 4-star wide receiver Corey Sims of St. Louis, Missouri. 4-star wide receiver Romero Eisen of Gwyn Oak, Maryland. Tanuk Hines from Houston, another 4-star wide receiver. A couple of 4-star running backs, Harry Dalton III out of Dinwiddie, Virginia. And then Riley Wormley out of South Lake Carroll in Texas. Go Dragons. Then 3-star lineman on the defensive side, Floyd Picard from Miami, Florida, and Gus Cordova from Austin, Texas. And then, Alicia, I think we have the best pull of the day. 3-star composite safety Steve Miller from Greensboro, Georgia. Yeah. Adding it to the board. It will be there every time we discuss him in perpetuity for the next 3 to 6 years. Yeah.
Yes.
3-star athlete, defensive end, tight end guy, Nella Tupo from Folsom up north. He was catching passes from Rider Lions. Then there's 3-star offensive tackle Elijah Vicona from Santa Margarita Catholic. 3-star defensive lineman Cash Jacobson from Jenks, Oklahoma. And then another 3-star athlete, sort of a wide receiver guy, Jimmy Johnson from Douglasville, Georgia. And the last one, of course, the best name of the bunch. I'm sorry, Steve Miller, but the best name of the bunch. This might be the greatest name in the history of USC football. I can't imagine a better name. 3-star offensive lineman Willie Washer from Bellevue, Washington.
No offense to Willie Washer's parents, but when your last name is Washer, spelled whatever way, for those not using the visual medium, it's spelled Willie Willi, and I'm not sure if that's a nickname, but Washer Wascher. Mm-hmm. So if your last name is Washer, there are a few names that you are not allowed to name your child. William is one of them. Richard is another one. I'm sure there are others, but these are the off-limit names.
Hey.
So, I mean,
I think SC is in need of a girthy lineman and Willie will be able to plug the holes there on the offensive line.
I would like to point out again. We've talked about like where's the beef on in the trenches for USC. Jakeem Stewart, 6'6", 270, and he's 17 years old. The frame to put on some weight there. Alex Payne comes in 6'5", 265. The frame to put on more. But so many of these guys also just have the natural weight, size and weight. Aaron Dunn, 6'7", 290. That's on the offensive line. Floyd Bukar, 6'3", 315 on the defensive line. Cash Jacobson, 6'3", 290 on the defensive line. Elijah Vicona, 6'8", 368 pounds. That's just, and then Willie Washer, 6'3", 302. There's the beef.
Yeah.
Size doesn't necessarily matter if you want it hard enough.
Yeah. Famously, as you said before. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that, SC has talked about a lot, getting bigger in the trenches. Matt Entz was on Trojans Live on Monday before he took the Fresno State job, and he was talking about, like, you got to get bigger dudes getting into the Big Ten. I think a lot of that has been sort of overblown to a certain extent. Again, we've talked about it a bunch. SC was already playing Utah and Oregon and Stanford teams in the last decade that have had a lot of physicality. So, but getting more physical certainly is something that SC has needed to get better at, because it's not like SC fared good against those teams anyways, as it was.
The thing is that USC's defensive and offensive line would not have been sufficient in the Pac-12 either, let alone the Big Ten. So,
right. Yeah. More so, yes, SC needs to get beefier. I don't think that the uptick in beef that you have to face in the Big Ten is a surprise to SC. That's more so the point there. We mentioned Jaden Perlotti, out of Buford, Georgia, 4-star linebacker, did not sign with the Trojans. The other guy, linebacker, 4-star, Madden Farimo that we mentioned before, Jay Sarah, he ultimately picked Notre Dame as well. Thoughts there on sort of missing out on those two guys?
Well, it's I think when you lose your linebackers coach during the day of signing day, I think USC was already in danger of losing Perlotti, but I feel strongly that USC would have gotten Farimo if Entz had not taken the job at Fresno State. So I don't, what can you do? Get in earlier, I suppose, with him, so that he felt that he had a strong enough relationship with the rest of the staff and the school to overcome losing Entz. But I just feel like it's always going to be really, really tough when the position coach that you are connected very strongly to is no longer there. Of course, you're going to lose some linebackers. Sucks is that USC now needs to go out and find a linebackers coach quickly enough to hit the portal and whatever's left of the recruiting sort of availability to fill some of those gaps in terms of linebackers. And unfortunately, the timeline on all of this gets sped up to a ridiculous degree that it's gonna be tough to work this out.
It makes all the bowl prep, I think, that much more important, because it's an extra. If it's the LA Bowl, it's an extra week of practice. If it's the Holiday Bowl, it's an extra 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks of practice for all those. Either way, SC, I would say, had a good day. Absolutely. Anytime you get a 5-star lineman like Jakeem Stewart, you have a good day. Moved up. If you'd have looked at like your stat projections from like a month ago, you wouldn't have been feeling like SC could really go higher in the team rankings, but Alicia, they sure have a little bit in the last month, now up to 13th in the 24/7 Sports Composite Team Rankings. Not as high as SE fans want, but certainly hitting the higher on the stat projection, which you can do too over at Underdog Fantasy. And Alicia, I was pumped because today I put together an entry. It's a big day in EPL. The Premier League had a bunch of games today. This right here on the screen was what I put together. Because on Underdog Fantasy, you pick your favorite players higher or lower based on their stat projections across any sport that you want. There's even like esports in there if you're into like clicking buttons and stuff like that. So look it up. UnderdogFantasy.com. Download the app. 5 million Americans have done it. I went into today wanting to put together an all Premier League entry list. Here's where my picks. Mohamed Salah against Newcastle. I said he'd go higher than 1/2 assist. He did that. Cole Palmer against Southampton. I said he would go higher than 1/2 goal and assist. He did that. He scored probably the most difficult goal he's ever scored in his life, tapping in a goal from about 18 inches away that Christopher Nkunku was about to score if Palmer didn't knock it in. But hey, it counts, and it helps me out on my entry here. Kelleher, who I cannot say his name, how would he say it?
Every time you ask me this,
you don't even know either.
I feel like I have it
you
in my head.
don't even know your goalie.
And then I try to say it, and it comes out wrong.
Yeah, Kelleher. Anyways, from Liverpool.
It's
sure.
I've lost it.
We're going to say Calvin. We're just going to go with Calvin. That's probably not right, but we're just going to roll with it.
It's like Kahim or something like that.
Anyways.
Kahim, I don't know.
2.5 saves. I went higher on that. He hit 3. Bukayo Saka did not hit the higher that I wanted on 2.5 shot attempts, but it was okay because I did a flex entry, which means I didn't have to hit all of my picks. They didn't all have to be the higher or lower pick that I put in there. So I still made my money back, more than doubled my money. This was a $10 entry, and I entered and came out with $23. But you guys can get even crazier with it as much as you want. Every player, every touchdown, every goal, every whatever esports has, just select higher or lower on Underdogs. Download the app. Use the code Reign of Troy to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Download the app. Use the code Reign of Troy to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates, including California. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Protect next step to 52342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. One of those days, I'm going to slide through and get all of it right. So we should probably set a stat projection on how many times I'm going to bungle the disclaimer, which you're probably going to take higher on. But Alicia, let's get to the mailbag, shall we?
You've got mail.
All right, we start with a mailbag question that we got a few days ago. We were going to talk about it in our Monday Notre Dame Fallout episode. We didn't get to it. We want to save it for today. It's from our good friend, Trent. He messaged me and was like, hey, this is a fun game. I think you guys could play Portal Options versus Jaden Mayava. Today, Lincoln Riley was asked, will the Trojans go after a transfer portal quarterback? He said yes. Basically, you have to. USC only has 2 quarterbacks on the roster. They're losing Jake Jensen. They're losing Miller Moss, which means they got to go out and at least have a third scholarship guy because you got Jaden Mayava, you got Hassan Longstreet coming in from Corona Centennial. It was interesting because Lincoln Riley said that, yeah, he's confident in Jaden Mayava, but then he said that you need depth, you need a third guy. I think you can read that any different way that you want. either way, you definitely obviously need a third guy, whether it's going to get a Jake Jensen type or a Caleb Williams type. Either way, SC's got to get somebody out of the portal. So we're going to talk portal options versus Jaden Mayava. You ready? Jaden Mayava or Caden Salter out of Liberty. Now in the portal, had a big season in 2023. 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Ran for almost 1,100 yards. A lot of hype coming into the season, and he was not good this season. But great last year. One season of Salter, would you take it? Or are you riding with Mayava?
I find, and this is, I think, the point of Trent's question, is that I find it very difficult to truly, like, to look at any of these quarterbacks and be 100% certain that they are better than what USC has in Jaden Mayava. I think that Caden Salter is quite a good quarterback, but he's on the smaller side. Didn't have as good a season this past year as the year before.
Yeah.
Coming up from the lower level, like Mayava did, up to Power 4, going to be newer in the system. I don't know. I feel like I'd low-key take Mayava.
If this was a year ago, I'd say Caden Salter in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're Lincoln Riley, maybe you look at it and say, well, I can mine that out of him. I can make sure that, it's 2023 Salter than not the 2024 one. But I don't know. My stance is very clear on all of this. I think you bring in a transfer quarterback who can compete for a starting job, not someone who is just going to be the Jake Jensen backup guy, except for one play in the red zone against a top 5 team with the game on the line. I do think in general, I would say yes. If we're saying versus Mayava, I probably take Mayava just because of this past season. And you have another year of Mayava there to develop him in the offseason. But this one's hard for me.
I think the argument for taking Salter is that the biggest reason you have concern about Mayava is the turnover thing, is the potential carelessness, the gunslinger bit. Yeah. And Mayava has played, Salter has played a lot of football, and he doesn't turn the ball over very much. He takes care of it. And that is potentially a quality that you sort of want, you want in your quarterback.
Yeah.
The problem is that, like, I wish that Salter had more experience playing Power 4 teams, but the sample size we have for him is like Oregon in last year and in the bowl game, and it wasn't great. So I don't know.
Yeah. Let's go with Thomas Castellanos, who hits a line drive deep to left. Out of Boston College. He lost his starting job with the Eagles, but he is still... by the way, I totally forgot. Of course you got to get Salter, so that way you can have Salter and Pepper on the same roster.
Yes, Hank Pepper, yes.
Yeah. Anyways, Thomas Castellanos from BC. Lost the starting job, but he's in the portal.
I am very skeptical of somebody who lost their starting job.
Me too.
So, no offense, but no. I can't say I've watched a ton of Thomas Castellanos, so maybe I'm missing something, but no. Yeah. I don't know.
It's Mayava for me. Matthew Sluka, this is Mayava for me. Malachi Singleton, I think, is an interesting one out of Arkansas, 4-star quarterback in the 2023 class. Led Arkansas to their win over Tennessee, had a game-winning touchdown run in that game. He's a Georgia guy. We know that that's SC's pipeline, Georgia. This would be interesting because he has a bunch of eligibility, 3 years of eligibility left. Do you bring him in and then, what do you do with Hassan Longstreet? And You know what I mean? Like that's a little awkward.
Yeah, the sample size is just really, really limited. And I think if USC, I mean, I would love for USC to do this, but like this is the Dante Moore of guy. Like this is, you bring him in knowing that he might not start immediately for you, but you're sort of, he's a contingency plan for Longstreet, but does he want to be that? I don't think so. I think he's leaving Arkansas to go be a starter.
Yeah. Connor Wigman from Texas A&M. Not part of the grocery chain on the East Coast, but what do you do here?
Absolutely not. I feel like I'm missing something with Connor Wigman. Again, he's a guy who lost his starting job to a freshman. He has never done, he's never been healthy the whole way. B, he's never done anything particularly great. And yet 24/7 Sports has him as the number one quarterback in the portal. I don't get where the hype is coming from. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I've never watched a game where he looked particularly impressive. He didn't look impressive against Notre Dame at the start of this season. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
It doesn't help that Texas A&M has not had a great quarterback in more than a decade since Johnny Manziel. They had Tannehill and Manziel, pretty close together, but like nothing since. Kenny Hill had like one great game. Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma reuniting with the former Oklahoma man, Lincoln Riley.
I mean, technically wouldn't be reuniting because he
right, but like he's reuniting with someone who knows the fight.
Following the same path, from Oklahoma. This one is the most intriguing. As Kenny in the chat says, like how we all felt about Bo Nix is maybe how Connor Wegman is the new Bo Nix. You never know, maybe. Jackson Arnold is a very talented quarterback who turned the ball over too often, made a lot of mental mistakes, didn't look particularly natural for much of the season, but after getting benched, he came back in, started to look a little bit better. I have questions about who was running their offense, all of that kind of stuff, the schedule, everything like that. If Jackson Arnold wanted to come to USC, I think I would take him as Jackson Arnold versus Jaden Mayava. Whoever wins that job, I feel like you probably are doing okay.
Yeah.
My worry is that if you bring in a quarterback like Jackson Arnold, and I'm Jaden Mayava,
a lot of eligibility.
If I'm Jaden Mayava, I get the heck out of Dodge. If Jackson Arnold commits to USC, at which point then you've traded a guy who's at least been in your system for a year for a guy that sort of flamed out of his last spot.
Right.
So again, I feel like I just stick with Mayava.
Yeah, I think I stick with Mayava because of the eligibility thing. Like, yes, you'd like a guy with as much eligibility as Jackson Arnold did, but you got Hassan Longstreet waiting in the wings there. How about Braden Dorman from Arizona? Going to be a redshirt sophomore, backed up Noah Fafita, 4-star quarterback out of Colorado Springs, who's played with the Arizona Wildcats.
I don't know enough about him. Again, if he was willing to come to USC and potentially be a backup, then by all means. But
sure,
is he gonna beat Jaden Mayava out if he couldn't, unseat Noah Fafita this year?
Mm-hmm.
Would you take Noah Fafita? I guess is the other question, because there's been rumors about him going in the portal, although his family has said
Noah
no.
Fafita thing is interesting because I think, like, yes, experience, and he had flashes last year and all this stuff. I'm not a big Noah Fafita guy. I would take Mayava over Noah Fafita.
I like Fafita a lot, but like I sort of am with you in that if you're gonna take Fafita, like again, it's not worth bringing in Fafita to lose Mayava.
Sure, yeah, I don't know that there's enough difference there.
Yeah. Except that Mayava just has a bigger arm.
Well, size and arm strength, but like in terms of like production and all that stuff, I don't know if there's a huge difference there in what you're going to get. So about the guys who are not in the portal, will rapid fire these guys. Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. Not in the portal, still has a decision to make, but would you take him?
I would.
I think this is a yes. My only concern is the injury history. But 1 year of eligibility comes in. Maybe the injury stuff is not the end of the world, because it's like, if, knock on wood, this doesn't happen to Jalen Daniels, you obviously want everyone to have a clean bill of health. But like, if he were to come and not be able to play out his final season or whatever, at least, maybe that's the divine intervention that forces you to put Hassan Longstreet in there, or forces you to commit to Jaden Mayava. I don't know. I'd say yes.
What I don't like about Jalen Daniels is he's just not a great passer of the ball.
He's inconsistent, sure.
What I like about Jalen Daniels is he's just a natural runner, and I think if he came and Riley had a quarterback like Jalen Daniels, I think he would go way all in on the read option stuff, and I think that could be fun.
May I present Jalen Hurts for you?
Yeah, I mean,
it is like very similar. All the things that you're like, it's not drastically different. I mean, Hurts was way more efficient at Alabama than Daniels has been at Kansas, but all those things that you just said about Jalen Daniels, people were saying about Hurts. Mm-hmm. And then Lincoln Riley had a lot of success with him.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers from Texas.
I would, yes, absolutely, especially just the profile of player. I think that's there's a narrow window of guys where you get just that 1 year senior guy. Yeah. I think that would be USC's ideal to bring in to compete with Mayava. He would be somebody that I think could step right into Lincoln Riley's offense. Wouldn't bring the running ability quite so much, but we've seen what he can be very effective in a Sarkisian offense. I think he could be very effective in a Lincoln Riley offense.
Yeah, 1 year of eligibility, and then you can go to Longstreet.
Yeah.
It works out great that way. Arch Manning?
Yes. They're not going to happen, but sure, yeah.
No. If Ewers stays, you don't think he could go?
I don't think you were staying, so.
Okay, fair enough. Lenora Sellers from South Carolina is a big yes for me. Huge yes. My concern,
can you tell the people why he's a big yes for you?
Well, I'm a big cock guy, like big into the Gamecocks. Lenora Sellers, even though he screwed me over in my fantasy, my dynasty, screwed me over with that. But Lenora Sellers, great run against Clemson. If you haven't seen it, great touchdown run. He's been fantastic this year as a freshman. My concern, I talk about someone with a ton of eligibility, is like, what does that mean for Hassan Longstreet? At the same time, Lenora Sellers looks like an absolute sure thing. So, yes, like if you can get him, take him. Yeah. The NIL would be very high for him, but yeah, take him.
That's the risk, is like he looks like a really, really top talent, but an unfinished prospect. You'd have to throw the bag at him. Are you willing to do that for a player that doesn't have a wealth of experience that again could upset your succession plan? I would take him, but again, I there's the politics of all of these are much more difficult than the would you take this guy on talent.
Garrett Nussmeier, LSU.
Oh yeah, I would take him. Again, I think he could be a very effective passer in a Riley offense. Not more physically gifted than Miller Moss, but would end up being more of a Miller Moss type in terms of not being a runner. But I think he could be a really, really good passer for USC.
Yeah. Last three names I'll just put all together. Tulane, Darian Munza, Alonzo Barnett III from JMU, go Dukes, and Rocco Becht from Iowa. All these young guys with upside that sort of not the big name brands, but they all had their moments.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said for all of them. I'm skeptical about the circumstances that would result in Rocco Becht leaving Iowa State, but he's the one I would probably want the most, given like the winning that he's done. The rest again, I struggle with the idea that any of these guys are significantly better. Like, I wish there was a Dylan Gabriel in this class. I wish there was a like a clear, he's experienced.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what he's about. He's won at other levels, and like you just plug and play. I don't know that there is a plug and play guy here, except for maybe Quinn Ewers, but
is that guy,
I don't think that's happening. Garrett Nussmeier's probably plug and play, but I'm not sure that's happening either. John Mateer would be really fun from Washington State.
Yes, I skipped him. It should have mentioned him. He to me is the auto yes. Even though he has a ton of 2 years of eligibility left, I think he looks too good to say no to.
He could be, because he's a redshirt sophomore, right? So he could come in.
He could still be draft eligible after
redshirt junior year, have a big year, and then go on to the next part of his journey. So yeah, I would take John Mateer in a second. But again, it's Washington State's offensive coordinator just got hired by Oklahoma. The expectation now is that John Mateer will go to Oklahoma, and Jackson Arnold leaving sort of also plays in points in that direction. So yeah, there's still a lot of time though. I think we'll probably see more. We will see one or two unexpected names in the portal. So USC should definitely keep an eye out. But with the guys that are currently in there, I don't know that any of them are worth upsetting Jaden Mayava, in the sense of like, I think that if you brought too many of these guys, if you brought them in, if I'm Jaden Mayava, I bounce. And anything that makes Jaden Mayava bounce, I don't know that it's worth it for a Caden Salter.
Yeah. Milrose a no for me, by the way. I didn't mention.
Oh
Milroe.
yeah, no. I would Milroe, theoretically, maybe he is another Jalen Hurts, but I don't think he is even close to what Jalen Hurts was in terms of a little bit more of the balanced package. I think Jalen Milroe is just a runner, and
I have too much faith in Kalen DeBoer to get the most out of him.
Yes, if Kalen DeBoer couldn't get more out of him as a passer, then I don't think that there's enough there to work with.
Yeah. All right. Ron Murdy asked, this is from Monday, any thoughts on Penn State against Oregon in the Big Ten Championship? Part of me is rooting against the Ducks. You got thoughts?
I am rooting against the Ducks, mostly because I am rooting for the most chaos possible. So I am rooting for Penn State. I am rooting for Georgia. I'm rooting for maybe I'm rooting for SMU because it's not really the same. But, I just think it would be really fun if all of these games went sideways and created a chaos bracket. So I'm rooting for that. Also, Oregon doing well it feels like a slap in the face to USC. So no, I do not want Oregon to win the Big Ten.
I don't care. Oregon's in the playoff anyways. Both teams are in the playoff anyways. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Okay, what about not to take us back to our previous conversation, but R-Dub in the chat says Malik Murphy from Duke. So Malik Murphy transferred to Duke from Texas.
Mm-hmm. He was a Arch Manning casualty in that sense.
Yes, I like Malik Murphy as a player. I think he probably could do well at USC. But is he significantly better than Mayava? If he wanted to come and battle Mayava and I could have both of them and one of them comes out on top, he's another one like that I would be more than happy to bring him in and have him do that. But I don't know.
I would say yes.
He's got way more eligibility left than I realized. The
thing for me is, like, saying no to a lot of these guys, I think comes off as like a full-on endorsement of
Mayava,
Jade Mayava, and like I don't mean that in that way. And I also I've got nothing against Mayava. I just think that I don't think you should go into the next season fully convinced that like Maeva is your guy. Nor should you be fully convinced that Longstreet is your guy. Like, go in with a genuine competition. I know that it's hard to do that in the NIL era because playing time is such a factor. Like, a lot of those guys that are in the portal now, Wigman, Jackson Arnold, Braden Dorman, like all those guys we talked about, like, playing time is huge. Caden Salter's not going to transfer just to sit behind somebody, you know? Like, and so then you've got to, like, commit to those guys. And I don't know if SC's in that position either, unless it was, like, an obvious, like, Quinn Ewers type, where it's like, well, sorry, Jaden, but he's just going to be the starter. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really tough, I don't know what the answer is what I'm saying.
That's where I'm at. Like I said, I don't see a quarterback who is significantly like a surefire improvement over Maeva to the point where, again, like I would love everybody, all of these guys, I would love to come in and compete. If you can create a situation where bringing in another quarterback allows you to do new quarterback, Maeva, Longstreet, like, yes, absolutely. Because I think this is the problem USC ended up with last year is that we looked at the quarterbacks out there and it was like, well, yeah, Will Howard, but
They were good options though.
USC wasn't willing to pay. Dylan Gabriel was always going to Oregon.
The Cam Ward thing,
I would have taken Cam Ward. Cam Ward would have been outstanding at USC. It would have been a completely different season if Cam Ward had come to USC. But again, USC wasn't willing to pay the price there, and also the situation got really funky.
He had declared for the NFL. Like there was
but
that.
But then again, like
aspect.
the hard thing to evaluate is, I think that the poster child for this is Kyle McCord. I watched a lot of Kyle McCord.
All 5 of his interceptions against Pitt?
Well, I mean, aside from that, I watched a lot of him at Ohio State, and he was not, like, even when he was good, he wasn't that good. So, like, I don't know if you can sort of create another Kyle McCord. It's... I don't know where those guys. I don't know necessarily where those guys are. I don't necessarily like the. I'm not enamored with the options that are out there.
Yeah.
I do. I'm looking at like passer rating, so kind of like comparable passer rating. Darian Mensah, but he's at Tulane and it's not Power 4, so it's a little bit difficult. But yeah, John Mateer is the one that keeps coming up for me. Ben Woolridge from Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to all put together. Kenny in the chat says, "Why do you feel multiple sites are saying that SC had a bad day in terms of signing day?" I don't know. I haven't seen enough of those takes.
I have.
Well, take it away. Take it away. Your thoughts, because you probably got way more than.
Okay, so here's where I'm at. I think that you always have to think about with these things that there's a narrative, but from the person who's writing it. And I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to imply like bias or anything like that, but it's just as a writer, as somebody who does this kind of writing, it's easier to run with like narratives. And the narrative around USC is the sky is falling, Matt Entz leaves. Lincoln. I think I saw one where they talked about how like on signing day Matt Entz left and Lincoln Riley had to debunk rumors that he was being pursued by UCF, and just like the vibes aren't good or whatever around USC. And I get that. Those are big events that happened on signing day that you can point to as, well, that's embarrassing for USC and that sucks for USC. But I think that it's also overlooking what is a quite good recruiting class for USC, given the fact that the program is 6-6, given the fact that they have increased their number of losses every year of the Lincoln Riley era, given the fact that Lincoln Riley is clearly on a hot seat of some variety, whether or not he can or can't be fired. Like the narrative around Lincoln Riley and sort of job security is not great. And this team is just, I know we talk about like wins and losses, but individual wins and losses don't matter to recruits, but trends do. Mm-hmm. And under other circumstances, usually a year like this does create a downturn in recruiting. And instead, what USC was able to do in this recruiting class is get the quarterback they needed. They got the big defensive lineman they needed. They stocked up with quality in the trenches like they needed. They flipped guys from other programs that are willing to go head to head, toe to toe in recruiting. They added a bunch of really strong prospects. And so in that sense, I think that USC was actually a winner of the day, considering they kept the commits that they had in place going into signing day, which is not the case for a lot of other programs, and put together a class that ranks relatively highly for a 6-6 team, and also addresses the positions of greatest need for USC going forward. But you have to remember that, again, the narrative thing is in play. And if you are a writer just sort of looking from the outside and you want to write a narrative, you can go look at USC's list of decommits and say, Justice Terry, Isaiah Gibson, Jerome Miles, Hayden Lowe, Anquan Fagans, Hilton Stubbs, Julian Lewis, Ty Jackson, Jaden Perlotti, Dominic Kelly, Cardi Smith, Shamar Arnaud, Dwayne Morris, Jet White. Like, there's a bunch of decommits. And, a lot of those decommits are top 200. Counter there is that, with the exception of Hayden Lowe, every single one of those decommits is a commitment that USC possibly shouldn't have had in the first place, because they were going into Florida and Georgia and Utah and other places to I don't think you hold Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson decommitting against USC when it was a minor miracle that USC even got those guys to feel like they would consider going to USC for a month in the first place. So I wouldn't penalize a school for the audaciousness of taking a commit from one of those guys, knowing full well that you're probably not going to be able to bring them in. That's not to say that USC isn't hurt by several of these commits. You don't want to lose Jerome Miles. Mm-hmm. Losing Hayden Lowe, the local guy, is a big problem. Some of these guys, Julian Lewis is a swap for Hassan Lewis. Hassan Longstreet, you feel fine about that, so you don't hold that against. But the class would be better with any of these guys in there, surely. But that doesn't mean that USC was a loser on signing day, because despite losing these guys, the big swings that USC took, they still got what they needed in this class, which is a star defensive lineman, high quality offensive lineman, quarterback, all of that. So yeah, that's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, I don't think SC's recruiting class is bad. I think that it was all those other things that you're talking about, like the Entz thing and the UCF rumors. Like, yes, I think that from a very 30,000 foot view, I think you can see that, like, maybe there were more negative storylines in that sense. But yeah, I don't think it was a bad recruiting class. First of all, this is a recruiting class, like you said. They were 6-6. They were 8-5 last year. They've lost more games each of the last two seasons, way more than Lincoln Riley has ever lost before. They, the fan base is very upset that SC is not recruiting local kids. They don't have Bosco and Pauly and Modern Day in the bag and Sarah in the bag like they used to. At the same time, the class is 13th in the country. Now, that's not top 5, which is, what the expectation is. Absolutely. but this isn't a Clay Helton 2020 class that was like 60th in the country. You know what I mean? Like, it is not remotely that.
It's a better class than they had last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
considerably.
I think there's reasons to feel good about this class. Will it be the one that turns everything around for SC? I don't know. We'll see. Recruits are like coaches. You grade them when they come in, and you grade them when they leave. So take that for what it's worth. But Alicia, it is time for us to wrap this thing up with a look at our Spotify Wrapped. Came out today. Best day of the year. Oh, wrong button. There we go. Spotify Wrapped. Here's what yours is, and here's what mine is on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube. Let's go over yours first. Your top 5 artists this year. First of all, you listen to 36,000 minutes of music, which is more than 3 times mine. I was at 11,900. So, yeah, more than 3 times me, which means that you're a crazy person. I think I watch a lot of YouTube that takes away.
You watch a lot more YouTube during, like, while you're working. Mm-hmm. I just exclusively listen to music. So, yeah. I'm looking for.
I also will listen to music on YouTube.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so my top artists are looks about right to me. It's the Arcadian Wild. They're my okay. What was the term that Wrapped used to describe my musical taste changed from like March to June or whatever, and it was pointing because Arcadian Wild had an album out, blah 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 blah. They called it cottagecore folk bluegrass or something like that. Like it's just wild.
The labels that they had were so weird.
Are weird.
Because for me, in like the early part of the year, I was listening to a lot of Foo Fighters and Black Sabbath, and it called it mall goth, like mall goth metal rock or whatever. Like what? Wild. Mall goth.
Okay, so Taylor Swift. I listened to a lot of Taylor Swift at the beginning in the first half of the year. I've been on a Sabrina Carpenter kick lately, so I'm low key surprised she's not higher up there. Fred again is one of my favorite, like electronic. What would they call? Not house, but like. There's a name. There's a million different genres of that, but very good Fred again. Purple Disco Machine. Michael, I think you would love Purple Disco Machine. I don't know if he's Purple Disco Machine was I think a Kumi special.
Okay.
For what it's worth. They jam. And then Sophie Tucker, who's like my kind of dance Brazilian flavor kind of stuff. If you've seen the iPod or Apple commercial. Or no, was it Apple? You are my best friend and we've got some shoot to shoot. That one, that's Sophie Tucker. New album is really, really good, by the way. I have a gripe though with Wrapped. Because my top songs are kind of like it's skewed because for the last month
tell the people how you're a crazy person.
Okay, I'm a crazy person. I am trying to for my mental health, for my letting my brain do some more rest. I do not allow myself to go on social media before noon. And I used to like listen to podcasts just all day long if I wasn't working. And I felt like I was like inundating my brain with too much information. So I decided that before noon that I would only allow myself to listen to music, and I decided that I wanted that music specifically to be classical music, sort of brain music, where I sort of set out to, if you'll see Piano Sonata number 14, which is Moonlight Sonata, and then Mozart's Piano Concerto number 21 and the Carmen Suite, that is all from the same album. It's the 50 greatest pieces of classical music or whatever from the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And it's a great, great album. And I listen to it now every morning while I'm taking Jesse to the PARK. But like those songs are up there because the shuffle just does what it does with that album that I've listened to every morning for 3 hours on a daily basis for a month. So like it's not an actual fair representation.
That's how top songs work. Yeah.
Right. But like, for instance, so Dopamine is an Arcadian Wild song. Very good. This Girl is one of my favorite songs of all time. Awesome. If you went down further, you'd get to Adore You by Fred again. And then you get two more of you get the Requiem in D minor, Mozart's Requiem, and Chopin's Nocturnes. So again, two more from that album. But then you get down to Rain Clouds, another Arcadian Wild, and Welcome to the DCC by Nothing But Thieves, which is, I think, my favorite song of the year, Welcome to the DCC. Awesome song. And then we get into Baby Queen, We Can Be Anything, which you know is my jam. Baby Queen is awesome. But like, still, like my entire top songs of 2024 are now littered with, Orchestral Suite Number 3 by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it's like that's not exactly what like I'm going for with my top songs of the year. Like
you got to have it exempt.
I do need to exempt it. But
If you didn't know, you can make a playlist exempt from your draft.
You can make it not part of your taste profile, which is what I need to do. But the long and short of it is
that exists for parents, by the way.
Yes, my brother can say that 100%. The long and short of it is I listen to a lot of music. The music that I listen to is from pretty much every genre you can think of. And I highly recommend the Arcadian Wild if you have any affinity for folk, bluegrass, singer-songwriter. If you like a mandolin or a fiddle, then listen to Arcadian Wild.
Yeah, and that's the Arcadian Wild being number one for you is super fitting. They are your band. You've seen them in person
every time they come to LA. I go to whatever little because they're not a big band, so I go to whatever little tiny coffee shop or whatever they play in, and it's awesome every time. So yeah.
My top songs were number one, Freed from Desire. Yeah. Classic Eurodance song. It's been big in the soccer world this year.
Yeah.
And so I played it 18 times on like May 26th or something like that. But that's number one. Number two is Call It What You Want from Foster the People. Then song 2 from Blur, because I have a playlist that like is like that kind of. Okay. I have multiple playlists with song 2 on it. One of them is like jock jams. Mm-hmm. The other one is like I have like soccer Euro upbeat stuff. And that's on it. And then I think it's on like I just have like a just another like dance playlist that's on. Not that it's like a dance song, but it's like it's not a dance song.
It's a up tempo, like it's an energy song. It's a big energy song. Yeah.
And then Big Talk again on my top list.
Your girl Sophie.
So a FIFA song from a couple years ago. Go listen to Sophie. SOFY. She's incredible. She's my Arcadian Wild. There's like 3 people that listen to her on Spotify, and it's me and the 2 people I tell her about, basically. Go listen to her stuff. She's incredible. She's so good. Big Talk is such a good song. Strawberry Shake is a great song from her. Like really great. Like I love it. I could listen to it over and over again, which is why it's number 4. And then number 5 on my songs list is Thunderstruck, and that's because that's the song I listen to before I play one of our games in our online Dynasty League for EA college football.
Yeah.
Gets me in the mood.
Mm-hmm.
Gets me pumped. Top 5 artists for me. Number 1, Fleetwood Mac. Number 2, Michael Jackson. Number 3, Foster the People. Number 4, Earth, Wind & Fire. Number 5, David Gilmour. I'm shocked that there isn't more David Gilmour on in terms of the songs.
Yeah.
Because the new album, Luck and Strange, I am addicted to Between 2 Points with his daughter, Romany Gilmour.
It's so good.
It is an incredible song. It's so good.
It's a cover that improves on the original completely.
We saw them in concert at the Hollywood Bowl.
It's like haunting. It's so moody. It's so good.
It's so good. But I think I've listened to the 9,000 times that I've listened to it this year. I think like 2/3 of the time I've watched the YouTube version.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which is why it's reduced the numbers there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's our Spotify wrap.
I'm surprised that I don't have Fleetwood Mac up in my top artists or even my top songs, because I listen to a lot of Fleetwood Mac now.
Favorite Fleetwood Mac song? Besides Tusk, you just got to throw that
Tusk.
out. Yeah.
I love Landslide. I know it's a I think might be a normie answer, but you know which one I really no, it might be The Chain. What I was thinking about the other day is that Never Going Back Again might be my random, like I never don't listen to that song when it comes on.
Mm-hmm.
So
I put out a list. Where is it? 2020. I put out a list of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. And number 1 is "Hold Me." Love "Hold Me." Great,
Hold Me's good.
Great song. Yeah, I'm a big Catherine McPhee.
You're big
fan. Yeah. Rest in peace to Catherine McPhee. All right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back Monday to talk about SC's bowl berth and where that's gonna be. Either we're gonna have to hurry up and start getting ready for the LA Bowl, which is in a couple of weeks, or we'll be planning a road trip to El Paso or San Diego. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So until next time, we will see you. Thank you guys for listening as always. Thank you for everything, and we appreciate it. And we'll be back Monday. Till then, see ya.
See ya.
See ya.